Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to Six Screens JW World News. Well, this is the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about, but we talk about it every Saturday night and every other Sunday right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. Well, my name's Rick Farron, and welcome in tonight. I believe we're going to have a really good program. We're looking really forward to it. We've been doing the program here now for 20 years. We've never missed a Saturday night. And we are here because you are here. And the Six Screens has really been the place where ex-Jehovah's Witnesses come to talk. And like I say, they come here every Saturday night and every other Sunday. And, I have to really tell you something. There's a lot of YouTubers out there. There's a lot of people in the ex-witness audience that listen in. But you know what we've got here? We've got something really different. We've got a community. There are other channels and they have an audience, and I'm an audience for them as well. But here at the Six Screens, it's a community. We get people calling in every Saturday night, they voice their concerns in real time. And what a real opportunity it is for so many people to really cut loose from the Watchtower and talk about their trek in the Watchtower organization. Well, once again, we're coming to you from Boston. That is the apostate capital of the world. And I tell you what, we got the bragging rights up here. We got a lot of apostates. And back in August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, we have the most apostates ever gathered in a setting. And that was up here in Massachusetts at the Hilton Hotel. And what a good time we had. We had 350 opposers and critics, as well as, of course, apostates meeting together. And what a great time we had. And I want to thank all those people that participated in the convention and came up here to the Still Alive in 2025 convention. Well, let's take a look and see what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, I'll tell you, every week there's something going on, right? Some weeks more than others. But I have to tell you, the Watchtower right now is in full damage control. There's no question in my mind that the Watchtower is really trying to stop the hemorrhage. Right now, they're on life support. The Watchtower is tanking. And at a recent circuit assembly, just recently, within the last week, one of the talks. Now, I wanted to share this with you. I got information on this today for the Six Screens, but at a recent circuit convention, or assembly, I should say, one of the talks had to do, I tell you, it had to do about being patient. We mentioned, didn't we? Remember last week, we mentioned how Jehovah's Witnesses in a recent article in November, Watchtower, was telling people who've been hanging on for Armageddon for many, many years, they were telling people to keep hanging, and it's not going to come in your lifetime, so don't think it will. What do you think the baby boomers think of that? Geez, that was something terrible to have to say. I know I was a witness for 50 years of my life, and for all of a sudden to see this come through in a Watchtower publication, just keep hanging, and it's not going to come in our lifetime. I mean, how could you feel satisfied with that? How could you feel comfortable with that? And I'm sure it really rocked the boat of many witnesses. So now what we've got taking place at the assembly, the recent assemblies, they had a symposium. Now, remember the symposiums? It would be three brothers that would get up and that individually give a talk. Well, they just had that recently at this assembly, and they had a demonstration on how to be patient and all about being patient. And this has to do with all the new changes that are coming up in the Watchtower, that they have to come out with some type of a rebuttal. They have to come out with some type of explanation. And what's happening is it's not going over well. So in the convention talk, the symposium, they specifically mentioned the phrase recent updates. And they said now many have been hearing these recent updates. And of course, those recent updates come from jw.org, right? So anyways, they're starting to feel some repercussions from these changes. That's what it looks like to me. And there's many Jehovah's Witnesses, loyal Jehovah's Witnesses, that are right now questioning the recent changes that were made by the governing body. As a matter of fact, they said that, you just have to, they give the same old rhetoric, right? You just have to keep trusting the slave in Jehovah's Spirit directed organization. And they even mentioned it in the baptism talk for the new candidates, the newly baptized ones were told to stay on the road to life, to remain obedient to Jehovah and those who take the lead in the organization. Well, when have we heard that before? That they even compared these newly baptized ones that were going to get baptized at this assembly, they compared them to the Israelites who had to obey and follow Moses through the Red Sea to be saved from Pharaoh and his army. Oh, yeah, so that's right. The governing body is now comparing themselves to Moses. These guys, I mean, they take the liberty to really pour it on and make them like gods, right? The stupidity that comes out of their mouths is truly astounding. I mean, don't you agree? Now, regarding the changes or updates, 5 words were used by the governing body. The governing body has decided. Now, that phrase right there, there's 5 words in that phrase. The governing body has decided. Now, just stop and think about that for a second. That's proof to me that this is a man-made cult. These are men. The governing body is made up of haughty, prideful men. So because the governing body has decided, this shows me that this is a cult. And Jehovah's Witnesses, of many of them, are starting to see right through all of this. Some will gulp it down. Others will stay in, even though they're taking it in. And others are going to stay in and fake it. They're going to be PMOs, right? Physically in, mentally out. Now, each time that they say those 5 words, the governing body has decided, they definitely take the credit for changes. But when things go south, things go bad, what's the governing body do? They gaslight you. You must have been overly zealous, brother. You must have been reading more into this. You know the game they play. They've been playing that for years and years and years. You know, the governing body, their pride, the governing body, the pride that they have been showing as of late is going to destroy the Jehovah's Witness religion. It really, really is. The witnesses are seeing it almost as movie stars. That's what they portray themselves as, almost like movie stars. And well, what this has done by the governing body coming out on these JW updates, it's actually dissolved the illusion of them being the priestly class. I mean, at one time, when we didn't see so much of the governing body, when we were all Jehovah's Witnesses, many of us never even knew who the governing body members were. They seemed to be like magical. They seemed to have a mystique about them. It was an illusion of them being in this priestly class that was leading us all into the new world. Well, I believe right now that this priest-like figure is going the way of the buffalo. I feel that they're not going to have this position of priest-like ones any longer. And I mean, how could they? When you see them on video filling up a basket full of scotch, how can they, when you see them on video acting so godlike? I think that the governing body they fell in love with their stardom. Oh yeah, they really have. And I believe that most Jehovah's Witnesses are seeing right through this. The piety and religious rigor Jehovah's Witnesses used to have, and they used to conform to all of this, It's being washed away. The many witnesses aren't believing this anymore. They're starting to wake up and smell the coffee, and the governing body has always given them this illusion of being this priestly class, like we say. They are so fulfilled, that is, the witnesses, with the illusions of power, and the governing body is so they're in an illusion too. They're not really coming to realize, they're not coming to grips with, this is a dying organization made up of a governing body, decrepit old souls. That's what it is. It's a dying organization. And they admitted that they don't actually get direction from God. Remember that? We've been talking about that on the Six Screens years ago. Just about 5 years ago, the governing body came out and said, well, we really don't get direction from God, indicating they're not inspired. So where are they getting this direction from? I mean, I think in terms of Satan, or even from themselves, just worldly men. I think once they came out of the, yes, Stephen.
But we were taught ever since I've been alive that there's only two organizations. There's God's organization and Satan's organization. We were always taught that. And so when you ask that question, I ask that question all the time too. If there's only two organizations and it's not coming from God, that only leaves one other organization. Thanks.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So where is it coming from? I mean, they did admit they're not inspired. Well, I think what I'm trying to put two and two together, and I know you guys are trying to do it too. I believe this. I believe once the governing body came out of the closet, and at one time they were in the closet. Many of us witnesses, like I said, we never knew who the governing body members were. So once they came out of the closet, and that was approximately 7 years ago, 6 years ago, and they started with these JW broadcasting on jw.org. And all of a sudden, now that they're out of the closet, all of a sudden, people are really falling away from them. They're not really, I mean, at first they were giving them all this fame and glory, and the governing body still thinks they have it. But all this fame and glory is beginning to go up in smoke. People are seeing through it. And the governing body is starting to recognize it. I mean, even that's why they gave that talk at the assembly just in the last couple of weeks. They have to do something, but they always keep on saying the same old rhetoric. Well, the slave will help you. We will help you get through all of this. Just be patient. So, I mean, how can you really believe the governing body? How can we believe that they are God's representatives on earth? I mean, are they really getting their instruction from God? Well, stop and think about it. The governing body said no beards, so the brothers didn't wear beards. You ever play the game Simon Says? This is what it reminds me of. So they say no beards, so the brothers didn't wear beards. Then Simon says, yes, you can have beards. And so they all grew beards. I mean, you want to talk about mind control. And then they said to the women, you cannot wear pants. And then Simon said suddenly, yes, you may wear pants. So I mean, this is absolutely nutty. This shows me that this is not God. This is not a godly organization. They told us that the kids couldn't go to college. Our kids, we weren't supposed to go to college, and now you can. This is all. It's really creating an issue in the Jehovah's Witness religion. So when an organization like the Jehovah's Witnesses Watchtower organization, when they start running your personal life and you allow it, and many witnesses do allow it, then you know that you're worshiping them. You're not worshiping God. When they start ruling your life and you're following every letter of the rule that they give you, you are worshiping them. JW.org for many, JW.org killed the magic of the governing body. I'm going to tell you that right now. Now, there's still many witnesses that love the governing body, but there's a lot going through the motions. They're just okay, fine, but they know they're crackpots. Okay, Jehovah's Broadcasting, or JW Broadcasting, has destroyed the governing body's mystique. Yeah, has destroyed their mystique. When you see these guys, Jeffrey Jackson in the Australian Royal Commission, when you see Stephen Lett come on and do his updates, David Splane and all these guys, they don't radiate confidence at all. Friends, it's all downhill from here. It's all downhill from here. And listen, they have so much pride. But how many times when we were all Jehovah's Witnesses, didn't we always hear from the organization, from the Watchtower magazines, that pride comes before the crash? I hope these words come back on the governing body. Pride comes before the crash. I think the annual meeting that they just had last week? Yeah, I think it was last week. Yeah, it was last week. The annual meeting, I think, really is waking people up. You know, when they came on, we mentioned last week that self-absorbed trivia. Now, that was odd. They never did that before. But at the governing body annual meeting, before they would bring on another speaker, they would ask a trivia question. We talked about this last week. And the questions were all about the governing body. You know, who's the oldest governing body member? Who's been there the longest? Where they came from? All of that was all about them. It wasn't anything about Jesus, Jehovah, anything about the Bible. It's supposed to be a Christian organization, friends, but it was all about the governing body. And you know, I'll tell you, it's really going to put the cap on the bottle here. You know, Donald Trump, a couple of weeks ago, he spoke at the United Nations. Did you see it? I'm not making this political, friends, but Donald Trump lambasted. I mean, he really went bonkers over the United Nations. He said it's a useless organization. He said that they've done really nothing. But now this could really throw a wrench into one of the most critical benchmarks in Watchtower prophecy. Because remember, the Watchtower says that the nations turn power over to this toothless tiger. The toothless tiger is supposed to be the United Nations. So I guess I guess you can call it a toothless tiger, but this is going to throw a real monkey wrench into the critical benchmark here. Watchtower has been prophesying for years that all the nations are going to turn the power over to the United Nations, thus signaling the beginning of the Great Tribulation. Holy mackerel. How many times have we heard that? So, friends, this is going to really, they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to eat crow, something. They are so wrong with their prophecies. They're so wrong with their policies. They're so wrong the way they're treating people. I mean, it is really a disgusting thing. Well, you're on with me. Yeah, go ahead. It's dangerous? Who says it's dangerous?
Pixie says it's dangerous.
Oh, Bixie, you do agree to all of this? Well, what do you think is one of the most dangerous aspects of the Watchtower?
I think the blood doctrine is the most dangerous, and it affects all ages.
Well, I would put that right there. I would say that's right up. Yeah.
And I think most of the witnesses are going to pull that peace and security card out again, which is said in every business meeting of an international type. That's not new to the Bible or new to the witnesses, but they'll pull that out again. And they really don't know politics from their elbow up there at the lake. And he got that quiz show from you, and your Bull Moose quiz show is what we should call it. And I think that they had people listening into your show and stole it from you.
Hi, you're not the first person that said it. I thought it, but I wouldn't think they'd stoop that low, Pixie. I wouldn't think to stoop that low.
Well, look at everything else they've stolen or rewritten or changed. Or I tell you what, there's a wonderful video that was on this week called "The 7 Teachings of the Watchtower," and I think it was posted today. And John breaks down how things went from Russell to Rutherford, on through to Knorr, on through today. And they'll change it to fit whatever they need to fit.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, they do. That's what they've always done. You know, in fact, they win in both directions. I mean, right now they could be coming out, and then I don't hear it much in the witness world right now, but they could be coming out now. Now, what's going on over in Palestine and in with Israel? They could be coming out now and saying, "Look at peace, peace." I don't hear that much right now, but it will, I'm sure. But see, when the world is in turmoil, they win by saying, "Oh, aren't things getting bad?" And boy, Armageddon's around around the corner. And then when things, if they're going to call peace and security, they win there too. Look at the peace. So that they're always, putting themselves in a position where they don't lose.
Well, I stand by my original thing that I realized as a 20-something, that New York is where they have fashion, sometimes called the rag trade, and New York is where they have Madison Avenue for advertising, sometimes called Mad Men. And the witnesses really, they're not doing a lot of religion, but they do a lot of dress up and they do a lot of spin. In advertising, we call it spin.
Oh, exactly right. Oh, that's exactly right, Trip. That's exactly what they do. They spin it, and they put themselves in a position that supposedly always looks good, but for us that can see through it, it doesn't look good. It really, really doesn't. And I'm glad you're on the ball, Pixie. I'm glad you pick up on this stuff.
And also, you and your friends on the radio show have a lot of fine Christian people. And if a person is going to be a Christian, well, then they're supposed to be having a relationship with the Creator. They're not supposed to be putting men in between. And I think it's 2 Corinthians, I want to say 5 through 8, something like that, that says, don't worship yourself, worship Jesus Christ. So some days I feel like I'm a Christian, other days I feel like I might be a Buddhist, but if a person is going to be a Christian, they don't want to be worshiping the governing body.
Well, good for you, Pixie. But see, that's why what you just mentioned, that some days you feel like you're Christian, some days you feel like you're Buddhist. That's not the first time I heard that. That's the residual bad effects of being in a false religion. It really can mix people up in their way of thinking. And I talk about this on our Sunday programming a lot. The Watchtower, really, they're going to have to answer someday because they've hurt a lot of people's spirituality. That they have really taken something that could have been so rewarding for Jehovah's Witnesses that left. And when we leave, a lot of the witnesses say, "No, I don't want anything to do with God. I want nothing to do with spirituality. I don't want to be a spiritual person." And it really has hurt a lot of people, Pixie. It really has. Yeah. All right. Who wants to call in? What are your thoughts? Okay. Any thoughts on what we talked about here with the governing body? Do you think do you think the witnesses are really buying these guys? Do you think that they're really? Yes. What do you think, Sylvan?
I just had a quick thought, going back to something that Pixie said. You asked the question. The answer to the question is whether the governing body is monitoring or has people monitoring YouTube channels and things of this nature, programs like this one. Absolutely. Absolutely. I didn't believe it initially. You said that a few years ago, and I didn't believe it. I didn't really have a reason to. But now when I started paying attention, there's been too many things that ex-witnesses have talked about on social media that all of a sudden there's a talk on, or there's a part on, or there's some kind of video on, or whatever. So absolutely, These people are monitoring our communications to get a pulse on what we think and what we're telling others, and they're trying to counter it. And you can see it. It's just as plain as day. And as far as the updates, I think again, if you're young, maybe 20 and under, you don't know what to think. You can't put any of this into a context. We all can sit here and talk about how the organization, used to be. Like when you said, how is this organization of God? And you went on to rattle some things that they used to teach. Now they teach the opposite. I mean, think about vaccinations. You could have been disfellowshipped a few years ago for a vaccination. Now, if you didn't get one for COVID, you would have been kicked out of Bethel. In the past, you would have been disfellowshipped getting an organ transplant. Now, all of a sudden, it's okay. You would have been disfellowshipped taking a blood transfusion. Now you can take this, a fraction. You can't take the whole, but you can take. So for those of us that have been around a while, we see the changes. But a lot of people are too young to really see it, or they haven't been Jehovah's Witnesses long enough to see it. But for those that have been around long enough, they are very concerned. They're very worried. They can see that the wheels have fallen off of this thing, and they don't have any idea what the heck the governing body is doing anymore. They don't have confidence in them. And I can tell you that for sure. I had a conversation with a longtime witness this week, and that was her sentiment.
Well, thank you very much for bringing that up. And right at the outset of your narrative there, you talked about them watching, these YouTube channels. And back in 2010, we had a man come in, and he came in. It was, I remember, it was January 2010, and a young man came in. He claimed he was a Bethelite, and he wouldn't use his name. He said he was speaking from a closet. And of course, nobody really believed him, even myself, when he first came in, because I thought it was just a gag, like we do have people play gags on us. And he said that he was a Bethelite, and he wanted to talk on the program, and he's coming from Bethel inside a closet. And I at first, let him go on and talk, but he made some sense to him. I got to know him. He wouldn't give me his real name. I got it in time, but he would never get over the air. But we called him Johnny the Bethelite. And he mentioned that as he was working in the IT department of Bethel, and Johnny said that they have Bethelites assigned to different YouTube videos, different programs on Facebook, and the different sites where Jehovah's Witnesses are being chastised, or at least spoken about. So Johnny said that he was assigned to 6 screens of the Watchtower. And at the time, I even thought that was odd, because I'm saying, geez, if they assign Bethelites to listen into this program or other YouTubers, then wouldn't they fall out of the truth? He said, well, what they would do is every day, that's what their job was, to monitor the whole, Reddit and Facebook and 6 screens and all these different sites. And they would monitor that, and then they report back to the powers to be. And I said, well, wouldn't the Bethelites fall out of the so-called truth? He said, well, every day an older brother would speak with them that have a meeting, and the older brother would say, now, don't believe a word these people say. They're all apostates. They're all agents of the devil. But Johnny kept coming on, and he said he couldn't stand it anymore there, and eventually he did leave. But nobody really believed him, because he talked about many things that we now are talking about here on the 6 screens, and other people are talking about. But he was the first to really start spilling the beans. But yeah, they do watch us, and they do monitor us, Obin. Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
Absolutely. And I want to tell you something. I got a gift for you today. You ready?
Yeah.
You always tell us that it makes your day when a new person leaves Watchtower or a new person is tuning in. So I'm proud to announce that we have a person who has just left Watchtower just after a couple of weeks. I am not going to mention her name or give any information. That's her story to tell. But we just met her today. So we have another sister that's left this organization within a couple of weeks. In my understanding, I did mention 6 screens. My understanding is she tuned into Dick and Connie's program. She might even, in fact, be listening right now. But I just wanted to tell you that and make your day.
Well, thank you. That does make my day. Thank you very much for sharing that with me. No, in fact, I'll tell you what, there's plenty of people coming out. And I mentioned last week on the program, I stopped in Pennsylvania on my way back from Illinois with my wife 2 weeks ago. We stopped in to see my father, and I have 50 relatives that are Jehovah's Witnesses in this little part of, well, it's around Reading, Pennsylvania. And I got 50 nieces, nephews, brother-in-law, cousins. I mean, they're all in that area. It's a whole clan of witnesses. So I visited my father, and there was a young man. I never met him. He was my nephew. He was my grandnephew. He was my niece's son. And his mother's a staunch Jehovah's Witness. But my father lives right there with them. And when I was coming out of where my father's apartment was, my nephew was out there, and he said, I wanted to say hello to you. Now, he must be a PMO because you just don't come up and start talking to an apostate. So he's a PMO. I know he is. He probably listens into the 6 screens. And then, my sister and my other relatives, they wouldn't talk to me, even though this has been going on 20 years. But then the following day, I called my father to see how he's doing, tell him I got home safely and all of that. And my sister was in the car with him, and she got on the phone. She says, Ricky, she calls me Ricky. She says, Ricky, I just wanted to tell you that I love you. I wanted you to know that. Well, at first you say, well, how can someone love someone when you don't talk to them for 20 years or so? But it's not her. And I want all you folks out there to know that your relatives and friends that are not talking to you, don't hold them hostage. They're agents of the Watchtower. They are working for the Watchtower. They could lose their position by talking to you. So you have to put yourself in their position. It's not that they hate you. I think they really love you. And you know what I think? I think at times there's more emotional hurt in a person who is a witness, who won't talk to their loved family members and friends. I think they go through more emotional hurt than even the emotional hurt we feel as ex-witnesses by them not talking to us. That's my feelings on it. But I want you to get ready, and I'm glad that someone brought that up, because I want you to get ready for all of these people that will be coming and calling you, talking to you, your relatives, your kids, your relatives, friends, and that's all going to happen. I said, I'm not being a prophet here. I'm just being a futurist. Do you know the difference between a prophet and a futurist? A futurist can kind of tell the future by what's going on presently. And what's going on presently, friends, we have upwards of 4 million, probably more, 4 million ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, they're not all saying it. They're PMOs. They're physically in, mentally out. But you got like 4 million, I'd say half of the organization not believing in the Watchtower's teachings anymore, but they're just going through the motions because they know the repercussions they'll suffer from. But that is horrendous. So that shows me that there's going to be a breaking point. This is like a tsunami. This is like a tsunami that's slowly coming to shore. And this is going to happen in the Jehovah's Witness world. Well, I'll tell you, isn't it good? Don't you feel good? Now, look, it's not out of, it's not like we have glee that, the organization is being hurt right now. But, when someone really has hurt so many people, it's like seeing a criminal go to jail. We all remember Manson, right? Charles Manson, the cult leader. Man, when he went to jail, a lot of people were happy. That guy was a creep. And this is the way we feel about the Watchtower. When we see the Watchtower tank, and then hopefully even some of the governing body and officials of the Watchtower will go to jail. Because I'll tell you, I'm going to come up in one of our stories coming up tonight. I'm going to tell you about a couple of other countries right now that are coming down on the witnesses. More and more countries have had it with the witnesses. But we'll get to that news in a while. Well, let's move on, unless someone wants to say something. But let's move on and see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, let's say this. I just wanted to bring this up tonight because I got thinking, I got a person gave me some information at the 6 screens. It's concerning a 90-year-old sister in his Kingdom Hall that almost died during a meeting. And I wanted to share this tonight with the audience because it's going to show you how cruel and how unsensitive or insensitive the witnesses are. Uh, Before I get to her, though, I want to, and you guys are all going to be able to relate to this. All of us, when we're going to meetings, I mean, I was 50 years going to meetings, and we did have a brother one time that had a seizure, and he was prone to seizures, and he was sitting up front, and he went down. He was sitting in his chair. He had a seizure, fell on the floor, and it was sad to see him shaking on the floor. And a couple of brothers tended to him and got him out of there quickly. That's what they do, rather than really stop everything and make sure the brothers are right. The show must go on, so to speak. And so the brother, from what I can remember, was, lugged out in the back room by a couple of brothers, and, the show went on. And what this man gave to me this week, I kind of was reminiscent of that happened in my hall. And maybe there's been similar situations in your hall where you've seen this happen, where a brother or sister got sick and the meeting just went on like nothing was happening. But this young man that gave me the information, he said it really woke him up from wanting to be a Jehovah's Witness. He couldn't take it anymore. In fact, he said he was working in the sound. The brothers used to sit up back and put the sound, operate the mics and the music. Well, he was sitting there, and suddenly he told me that he heard an awful muffled scream from an elderly sister. And she was groping for air with her hands, like pulling air into her mouth or nose. And then she slumped over. And like he said, she was 90 years old. And she had plenty of health problems and was now in a medical emergency. She was really suffering. He thought she was going to die. So what the brother did, the brother grabbed a brother at the hall grabbed a wheelchair that they had in the closet, and they pushed it down the aisle, put the old woman in it, and wheeled her back into the lobby as fast as he possibly could. But the brother who gave me the information, he said he was shocked when the speaker on the stage didn't even acknowledge her, did not acknowledge her at all. And everyone in the hall ignored the situation that was going on. Yeah, this happens. I'm telling you, you've probably experienced this too. And at one point, as the brother who was trying to help her in the lobby, the brother wheeled around in the wheelchair. He was asking her very loudly so that she could hear him. He was asking her questions to try to find out what was going on with her. And another brother, now get this, another brother actually came to the back lobby and said, "Could you keep it down? You're making too much noise." I mean, can you?
They needed to call 911.
Well,
because in a case like that, a stroke, time is real important.
Well, you're right, Pixie. But I mean, this is how cruel the Watchtower is. So this brother that gave me the information, he said he was tempted to just go up there, just cut the sound off altogether so the meeting couldn't go on. He couldn't believe how the meeting just went on like nothing happened. And then
again, they're dangerous. The word this week is dangerous.
Yes, I'll go with you on that one. And so then he mentioned to me that, he went to a Worley event, a few months before this happened. And oddly enough, there was an emergency there. Someone in the audience was having some type of a spell or something, seizure or whatever. And the performer at this Worldly event actually stopped and paused the show. And he wanted to make sure the person in the audience was okay. And actually, I mean, this sister could have died. She almost died. She did live, according to what he told me. But if the sister died, now just put yourself in this position. You're sitting in the Kingdom Hall. You got the meeting going on. A sister was just wheeled out, grasping for air. Now, what if she died in the lobby? All of her friends, all of her witness friends, who she spent her whole life with, would sit there listening to the meeting, completely focused on the program, not even paying attention to her dying. I mean, she didn't die, but I'm just saying that she could have. I mean, is that really loving? Is this God's loving organization? So moments like this, they make me realize, and they make you realize, the organization's values really are not in order. They don't have real compassion. They have image over real compassion. In other words, well, we have to keep things moving. It's our image. We got to look good. We can't have people having seizures. We can't have people having strokes. My goodness gracious, that doesn't happen in Jehovah's organization. I'm sure many have experienced this. And, I can't help think years ago, probably 15 years ago, we had Dr. Jerry Bergman on the Six Screens program, on our program that we do here every Saturday. And he came on about 3 times. And I said, Dr. Bergman, what was one of the things that you witnessed was really horrifying to you? And Dr. Bergman said, well, he says, Rick, he says, I can remember at a convention. Now, he did remember. Now, Dr. Bergman was a psychiatrist, I should say a psychologist, for the Watchtower one time. He actually worked for them for psychological issues that brothers were dealing with and sisters in the Watchtower. And so he was at a convention, a summer convention, and it was hot as could be. And 2 or 3 little babies died. Now, he told the story on the Six Screens. 2 or 3 little babies died because it was so hot, and the mothers were putting blankets on them, thinking they were cold, but they weren't. I mean, that's what you think. You want to take care of your little baby. But he wanted to make an announcement. 2 babies died. And he went to the brothers, the overseer at the convention, and says, I have to make an announcement. The mothers are not to put blankets on these little babies. It's too hot. And so they said, nope, we don't do public announcements like that. Isn't that cruel? Isn't this like in the same situation? See, they don't want to draw any adverse attention to them. Image is more important than anything. And consequently, I have to tell you, some of the stories that I've been given here to Six Screens are just unbelievable. People write me; they give me all kinds of stories. But there's one that really caught my attention that I wanted to share with you because it's something that I really felt bad for this young man, a young 10-year-old. When he was older, when he gave me the story, but he was 10 or 11 years old. And his father was in the hospital and needed surgery, but he was a Jehovah's Witness and couldn't take blood. So what happened was a Saturday morning, and the young man, he was only 10 or 11, and he mentioned that he called up the study conductor that he had. He called up one of the elders, and he wanted to get an idea of what to do because at the hospital, they just told him that the doctor was refusing to do anything for his father because he was refusing blood. So the little young man, he didn't know what to do. He felt bad his dad might die. So he called his brother up and asked him if he could give him some help. Could you tell me what to do? They want to, no one wants to treat my father and he's dying in the hospital. And so when he called the brother to get help, the brother's response was, well, I'm out in service right now. Why don't you try to get him in another hospital? I mean, can you imagine? Do these guys have any compassion? Do they have any compassion? Now, it's something, when you go into a Kingdom Hall, and I don't know if you guys ever experienced this or not, but I did, and I think you did too. When you go into a Kingdom Hall, or even to an assembly or a convention, there's an evil air in those meetings. An evil air. There's always something kind of wrong and sinister whenever you're in there. Did you experience that? Now, I'm not trying to, I know we're getting close to Halloween. I'm not trying to spook anybody out, but there is something kind of wrong and sinister. There's an evil air. Let's go with that in these meetings. It's hard to.
It has the same vibe as like an Amway meeting. It's not the same vibe as like a house of worship. It's more like an Amway vibe.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel right, Pixie. It's hard to wrap our fingers around what it feels like. But you know what I really notice, and I think you do too, Pixie, is almost everyone at these conventions, assemblies, in the Kingdom Hall, they're all like in a trance. They're like they're zombies.
I told that story before of when I was at the assembly hall and accidentally dropped my pencil. And when I bent down to get my pencil in my seat and I looked around, I noticed that everybody looked like they were hypnotized. And my dad, I noted it to him, and he looked around and he saw what I saw, and he says, "We don't have to come here anymore." And he went back to Russell's time.
Boy, I'll tell you something. It's he was a smart man. He really.
He was.
He
had real intelligence, real smart.
He said, "That's it. I'm getting out of here." But there was just something about it. But now, anyone out there listening? Yes.
I had just a quick thought. I noticed something one year. This was a few years before I actually woke up, but we started to have our memorial at an auditorium of a high school, a local high school. So every other year we would, instead of being at the hall because there was too many, we'd be there. And I don't know if it was the lighting or what exactly it was, but it was the very first time that I really started to get the willies going to the memorial. And I was wondering, what exactly are we doing? Because it was somber, but it was just something even more than somber. And I noticed that when the memorial was in, people were just walking as fast as they can to get out of there. Nobody was happy. It was just like everybody's body language and reaction was they just wanted to get out of there as fast as they could. They weren't themselves. Most of us are kind of happy and smiling and laughing and glad to see. It was none of that. It was very brief greetings, immediately getting out of there, and most of the time everybody would go to dinner. You probably have to be one or maybe two drinks in before people started kind of returning back to themselves. And I started really wondering what exactly is going on with this memorial celebration that it has this effect on people, that it's so somber. Like I said, it's even something more than somber. And years later, I heard somebody use the term black mass, not talking about the memorial, completely different context. And I kind of started wondering, is this a black mass? And is that the reason why people are so uneasy while they're there and when they're leaving? Because this is a black mass. This is being portrayed as a celebration of Jesus' death, but it really isn't. It's a black mass. So that was definitely one meeting that would give me the willies.
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of us experience those willies many, many times at these crazy Jehovah's Witness meetings. But thank you for sharing that.
I'm reading Fraser's Golden Bough, which talks about ancient religions and all kinds of deep stuff. The book is about 100 years old. So I won't go that far, but I will say that I've often wondered if they use certain sounds and tones at the Kingdom Hall and at a lot of the conventions. I am not an expert in this, but I do know that they could use certain frequencies that could change a person's mood. This is science, and I don't know if they do, but I've often, since a younger time and now for the last 40 years, I've thought that maybe they do.
Well, we did have an Well, it's okay. I'll take it as an opinion, and I'll add some fuel to that thought. We did have a man come on, I'd say 10 years ago, and he was an expert in music. And he analyzed the Jehovah's Witness music and a lot of this new music too that they have. And he did mention to us that the music can be very much used to put people in like a trance-like state. Now, I mean, it's a science, like you say, but I mean, music can affect you emotionally. It stirs up emotions. And if it's used in the wrong way, I'm sure they can do all kinds of tricks with it, So just want to bring that up. Now, was there another lady?
That applies not only to maybe the witness music, but all music can affect you emotionally because of the sound of it. But I wanted to mention earlier when you said that the sister was gasping for air and the brother had the seizure. Back in the day, like in 1980, I had my daughter in April of 1980, and usually we waited like 6 weeks before we would even leave the house. And the first meeting I went to, we were sitting on the back row, and I looked down, and my baby was covered in blood. And I just started freaking out, trying to find where she was bleeding at. It wasn't her. It was me. I had a hemorrhage, I guess, through a vein must have busted in my head, but I started hemorrhaging through my nose, and I kind of just threw her to my husband, and I touched my hands and got up and ran to the bathroom. Well, then people did notice things like that, and like 3 other sisters got up that saw me running to the bathroom, and they ran right with me, and they were trying to stop the bleeding. And I just leaned over the sink, and I filled the sink halfway full of blood. And anyway, they ended up, all of them took me to the emergency room. But I mean, that was a thing. Everybody back then, it was different. We did care about each other. I think it was a whole different era than like it is now, and that's why it's so sad that things are the way they are. Because at one time, it didn't seem like such an evil organization. We weren't the happiest people on earth, that's for sure. But I mean, we were closer to being normal. And then as the years went on, then more and more people started having mental problems and nervous problems, including myself. And at one time, we had 9 people in our congregation, all diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And there was a whole group of us that got together and wrote the Watchtower Society that they needed to come out with the magazine article about dealing with mental illness. And about a year later, they did. And but that was in the 1990s. And you can just see gradually through the 70s, that's when Armageddon was supposed to come. That's when I got baptized, and I was disillusioned, but kept going, and I was only 14. So anyway, and back then, all the young people, like I was 15 when I got engaged, and 16 when I got married. And if you weren't married by the time you were a girl, about 16 years old, you were considered an old maid pretty much. And there were always more females than males, even back then. But I was 16, he was 19, we got married, had 2 kids, got a divorce. And almost every couple in our age group, I only knew of one couple that actually made it past 5 to 7 years. All marriages broke up, and it was just, but that was just and it's continued into a sick, immoral type thing. And then I did find out how bad things were, though, with the elders and their non-compassion stand, like on being molested or raped. And that 2 witness rule, and that really was pretty bad. Anyway, that's all.
Well, is this Debbie?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't recognize Debbie. By the way, I want to tell you that we're going to send you that $100. Zach won the contest, and you did send me the address, so I'm going to make the exception, and I'm gonna get that $100 out to you. So you sent me the address the other day. That's where you wanted to go?
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, well,
I appreciate that. And I appreciate that from Zach, too.
All right. Yeah, he's going to come on tonight. Now,
Especially right now. Right now, I'm having a really hard time because the vet, I had to take my cat to the vet.
yeah.
And they think he's got cancer. And I'm living in an assisted living apartment, and I'm in my apartment all the time, and I'm in the hospital all the time. My cat is really important to me. You know, he's my buddy and everything, and he's always here. And some people think cats are just aloof, but if my cat thinks I'm upset or if I'm sick or something, he comes over to me and tries to comfort me.
Oh, yeah. They do that.
And anyway, the vet bill, I was trying to, I wasn't expecting that bill. And living in assisted living, you only get to keep like $95 a month out of your Social Security, and they get the rest of it. So just my phone is $60, so that really doesn't leave me much of anything.
Well, you'll get the $100 this week. I'll mail it out to you first week, so you get it.
Yeah, Big Bro is going to go a long way helping me.
All right. Well,
I might have to end up putting him to sleep. I hope not.
Well, let's hope it all works out well. Well, thank you, Debbie. Good to hear from you too. We wish you the best. We'll be praying for you. Thank you, Debbie. All right. My goodness gracious. Yes, Maverick.
Yeah, hello, Rick.
Hello.
No, it's Tim from Australia. How you doing?
Oh, it's Tim. I thought it was
Yeah,
Maverick
can you
from
hear me all
London.
right?
Yeah, all the way from Australia. Yeah, good, Tim. Yes.
Just a few thoughts. I mean, I know a lot of people that left the organisation don't believe in demons, and that's their choice. But I'm just going to say outright, the religion's demonic. The vibe that you're talking about is demonic. The last assembly I ever went to, we literally left the assembly because of that vibe, and I never went to another one since. That was years ago. And just on interest with that, though, I mean, that's I saw a new YouTube video, and there's a lady that's talking about the art in the Bible story book, and we know there are a lot of people that have mentioned they used to get bad dreams or they didn't like that book. And she has a history in learning art, and she knows how it was put together in the 70s. And she's putting the mirror up, and I know other people have done this, and some people think it's speculation, but just on the first 4 pages in the Bible storybook alone, all the mirror images contain goat images. And she's put that through ChatGPT, and it said, it's not just like seeing a random image in a cloud. When it becomes a pattern throughout your publications, it's a deliberate act. And it's amazing how many witness books do have that subliminal stuff. And the fact why she was explaining how those old, in the 70s and the 80s, how the 4-color printer used to work, there's no way you could put those images without knowing that they were there. It was pretty interesting. And I mean, again, it's not a surprise. And then just briefly touching on the music, you had that Deconstructing the Jehovah's Witnesses brainwashing channel. He's talked about the music, and in some things, but there's one particular where they've literally plagiarized a music piece off, and he shows the source. It's on Apple Music, and it's a new age, like kind of music channel. And again, like, he doesn't care about that, and everyone can have their own opinions. But in the witness mindset, we all know that new age, if you saw the pictures, if you saw that music, you would say it was demonic. Yet they have plagiarized that, and they play that in the resurrection scene. And this is like of a drama just going back 3 or 4 years ago. And I guess I'll just finish up saying a personal anecdote. The people that have got that angriest in my life and got super insistent that we attend meetings have been the worst. One literally is a convicted pedophile who went to jail over it. And the other one, not quite as serious, but a criminal. And it's like, why are those people with those histories in that organisation? They're the angriest and the most insistent. You go to that place. In my opinion, it's just always been a demonic, religion. You can look back. There's all these ties. Some people dispute it, but why is it that so many people feel that vibe that you're talking about? It's not coincidence anymore. Thanks, Rick.
Well, thank you, Tim. Good to hear from you. That's interesting. You bring that up too. the subliminal images, and I'm glad you kind of agree with it. There's so many that don't. There's so many people that just say, well, that's just what you want your mind to think. But there are images in there that are very demonic, Tim. You're absolutely right. And, coming from the background I do, I'm a Christian man. And what I want to mention for those listening in, there's actually two camps, and I mention this a lot here on the Six Screens, and I'm not trying to in any way persuade you to become a Christian. It's up to you, whatever you want to believe in life after you leave the Watchtower. But what I am saying is there was two camps that exist in the ex-witness community. Now, there's a believers camp, people who still want to believe in God after they leave the Watchtower. And then there's the non-believer camp. Now, the believer camp, when we get into occultism in the Watchtower, the believer camp has no problems identifying and understanding the occultic practices that take place in the Watchtower Society. But now the non-believer camp, because they've kind of don't believe in God, they won't believe in the devil. So it's very hard for them to connect with these devilish, ghoulish, demonic images and what have you with many things when we talk about occult in the Watchtower. But I'm not in any way saying that you have to believe the way I believe, but there is two different camps. So that's why you get that division. That's why you get that division. A lot of people say, no, those subliminal images.
Again,
Yeah.
Again, I'll go to the third way.
Yeah.
I'll find a third way.
Yeah.
Instead of the word demonic, again, the word for today is dangerous. And whether we are looking at actual voodoo that would work or not, they're from New York. They know all the advertising tricks in publishing, and they've used their powers for danger.
Well, I have to agree with you. Yeah, go ahead. You're on with us.
Rick, am I coming through? Can I support Tim and Pixie here?
Of course you can, Matthew. Go ahead.
Thanks for that, Rick. And I want to just dignify Debbie's story. What I heard there is I heard surviving spiritual abuse. And I think it's very, very important that as a community we come together and we dignify each other with these various stories. As Anne Marie says, we all have our sunburns. And so these things can be very triggering, these spiritual abuses. But we also want to say that, as humans, the best thing that we have in society is we have our psychologists. Those are the peer-reviewed psychologists. These are the persons that we use in court. So it's very, very difficult when we see these patterns and we experience, these occultish kind of things, and we can identify with them. And it's hard because we know what we feel when we're sitting there and we're listening to this abuse coming through. But sometimes to ground it in experts is very, very important, because then we can avoid the speculation and our own personal opinions and things like this. So there was the facts on JW. That was a very interesting discussion. And we were able to take a look at the governing body picture on jw.org, which is a silhouette. And again, it's one of those classic pareidolia, the images where you look at this image and you go, what is all this strange smoke that's in this image? But you can run that past a certified PhD psychologist like Sean Esbjorn Hagen, or CIHS, Sean Esbjorn Hagen. And he's made information freely available on the New Thinking Aloud. It's a free magazine, 2024, page 16. And the subject is tulpas, Tulpas. And it's a category of thought forms that's related to the pareidolia discussion. And it's very interesting using Watchtower's own information
such as the Watchtower 1962. Now, I'm not promoting anything. It's just healthy skepticism and looking at it with critical thought. But the 1962 Watchtower 11/1, page 648, was talking about extrasensory perception. And it was linking that image with the governing body where there's all of this smoke and you can see these shapes and these strange images. It actually linked it to spiritism. For the extrasensory perceiver was able to produce rather unexpectedly the ectoplasmic figures common to spirit mediums when they got together in like a seance. Pretty much like the image that depicts the governing body. Rick, I'm going to stop there because I think others might want to chip in with that. But I hope that's useful in some way.
Well, it's useful in a lot of ways. I mean, really, they're up to something, Matthew. They're up to something. It's hard to put a finger on it, but when you're able to pick up little things like that, you can put a lot of legs on that one. A lot of legs. Yeah.
Matthew, I'm reading Golden Bough by James Fraser right now. I thought that might interest you.
Golden Bough. Pixie, I'm still trying to get through the other two books. I read through them. I thank you very much. It taught me a lot about you.
The Golden Bough by James Fraser he abridged it himself. It's an abridged paperback. In the Victorian times, it was 13 volumes. And it talks about totem and taboo in human culture and religion. And I also have books on my shelf on stage magic, neuro-linguistic programming, all kinds of things that might interest you, but the general listener isn't going to know what it is. And again, the Watchtower is in New York. It's where advertising is. They know all the tricks of the trade, and they used them on us.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to dignify Debbie because I could see that I had triggered her, but I want to validate her feelings because we're trying to recover. We're trying to recover from all of these.
We're trying to recover. That's right.
Thank you very much, Pixie. You're on my wavelength. I really enjoy your facts. Thank you very much.
Likewise.
Hey, Matthew, just a thought. Hey, Matthew, well, hold on one second. Hey, Matthew, what time is it? I'm just curious. What time is it in South Africa right now?
17 minutes past 3, but you're doing a good work, Rick. I think what's being done here is vitally important.
Well, it's 17 past 3. Is it on Sunday or is it on Saturday?
Well, it's in the morning on Sunday.
Wow. Boy, well, you're wide awake for 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, thank you, Matthew. Go ahead, brother. You were just on with us. Was that Sylvan?
No, this is Stephen. I just wanted to know, these books that you guys are referencing, can we have a list someplace where we can get to it so we can read these books? Because Pixie, I think, just mentioned one. Then she mentioned another one a little bit earlier. And then the gentleman from South Africa just mentioned one. And they flipped through those titles so fast. I'm in the car driving. I would like to read those. Can we get titles and put those titles someplace so we can go back and refer?
Stephen, I will send Rick my phone number and he can give it to you. Oh, do you talk to Fran and Joe? Stephen, do you talk to Fran and Joe? You have my permission. Fran and Joe have my number. I don't share it with everyone and I don't put it on the air. But if you would like a book list, you may call Fran and Joe and you may friend me on the phone.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Stephen, I'm sorry I've been calling you Sylvan. I'm sorry. There was another Sylvan that I knew. I sorry for that. I got a little mixed up.
I'm still mad at you, Rick, for coming to Illinois and never let me take you out to dinner. So,
well, well, I'll tell you, we didn't have too much time. It was kind of a rush trip getting out there and getting back, and had to get back to my business. So, but next time I think we'll have a little more time. Maybe we can do it. Thank you. All right.
Okay, no problem.
All right, good man. That's Stephen, not Sylvan. All right. Anyways, you're on 6 Screens, JW World News. the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. Well, like I say, we talk about it every Saturday night and every other Sunday, but not tomorrow. We're off tomorrow, but we'll be back in 2 weeks. Okay, let's go with 614. 614, come on.
Yeah, Rick, this is Michael. How you doing?
I'm good, Michael. Good, thank you.
Hey, I just wanted to agree with your premise about the two groups because I felt that way the same. When I left the organization, I turned against God completely. But then after I came to Christ, then I did see what you talked about, the demonic in the organization. So I wanted to agree with you on that. And I also wanted to tell you that I met a brother that was out in the field service. I was working on a house and he came up and we had talking. He's a very nice man. Completely different witness than what I ever expected before. Real conversational. Actually listened to me. He let me share scriptures with him, which you never could hardly do that with a witness. And he invited me to his Kingdom Hall. Well, I haven't been to a Kingdom Hall for 35, 40 years, but I wanted to tell you that I did go because of his kindness. And I just wanted to see for myself what it was like. So maybe someday, if you'd like a 15-minute interview, I could give you a full report how this all come about and what I found. I think it would be very interesting for your listeners.
Yeah, in fact, maybe we do that on a Sunday, Michael. Maybe in 2 weeks. Not 2 weeks, but a week from tomorrow, if you can do it.
Yeah, I'll gladly do that for you.
All right, yeah, just plan it.
I think you find it interesting. I really would.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it. Yes, come on. It'd be at 2 o'clock Sunday, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow on Anne Marie's program. And her program is entitled Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses Share Their Story of Being in the Watchtower. So you can tell your story in there. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's just a report of what I found out when I went to the hall, what it was like, the things I noticed, things like that. I just think it'd be very interesting to see another side. And Anne Marie would be a good person to talk to because she's totally against everything when it comes to the Kingdom Hall.
Oh yeah.
And there were some good. Rick, I got to admit, there were some good things there when I went. I will notice too that they don't know their Bible as much as they used to when you and I were witnesses. In fact, I didn't even see a Bible at the Kingdom Hall. To tell you the truth, they used all the phones.
Well, I'll tell you that's a fact. That's a definite fact. They don't know it as much. But I want you to share with the audience what you could do. You tell the audience now. You said when you got out of the witnesses, Michael, you didn't want to believe in God. You ran as far away from God as you could. But you tell the audience, because I love that story, on how you became a Christian.
Oh, about Columbine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was I was playing in the bars, playing music every night, running around, and me and my wife was actually going to get divorced. I was getting my things out of my house, and I left the guitar and I went back to get a guitar, and I happened to flip on the TV because I've been so busy, and when I turned on the television set, the newscaster said, and they had a gun to a girl's head and asked if she believed in God, and she said she did, and they shot her and killed her. My daughter was the same age. My back went up against the wall and I just milled it down slowly. And I couldn't believe that someone shoot somebody in this country because, that was 25 years ago, that just because they said they believed in God. And then I got to thinking about this little girl who was actually her name was Rachel Scott, conducting Bible studies in her school, was helping people, was doing things. And I actually said, Michael, I'm talking to myself. I said, you used to have that type of faith, Michael. You used to have that. What's going on? And I took a Bible and I held it up to the heavens. And I said, God, I want to know about this God that this girl died for. I don't want to hear it from a Catholic perspective, a Jehovah's Witness perspective. I want to hear it from you. Come into my life. And each day through, and that's how I started my journey.
Well, I always love that story. I mean, sad story, but that really rocked you, didn't it, Michael? Huh?
only me, Rick, because I was invited by Daryl Scott, her father, to Colorado for a convention of, and I thought only about people who came to Christ because of Rachel Scott's death. I thought it would be like 10 or 12 people. And there was over 100,000 people there that were affected the same way.
Isn't that something, huh? Well, Michael, it's always good to hear from you. You got a way about you that's very convincing. You're a humble man, and you always get your message across. Thank you for sharing with us.
Well, thank you, Rick. I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks then, okay?
You got it. Yeah, it'll be a week from tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Well, we're so glad you're with us here tonight. We're still doing the news here at the Six Screens. We do it every Saturday night. But let's see what's going on behind the curtains. Let's take another peek of what is happening. Friends, I'm so happy to admit, for years, when we first started the Six Screens, 20 years ago, it really, we weren't getting many points on the scoreboard. The Watchtower was running crazily in a good way. They were gaining a lot of momentum. More and more people were becoming witnesses. There was very few people leaving. We didn't know what the word PMO meant. No, we didn't. So we would come on every Saturday night and try to do the best we could, but we never really got any points on the scoreboard. We were always reading about positive things going on in the Watchtower. We're learning about the conventions and how they were packing the seats and how the businesses in these convention cities love the Jehovah's Witnesses. So we're hearing all of this good news, and we never really got much critical news or negative news. But boy, how times have changed. Now, the apostates, we've been fighting for years. I remember when there's only a handful of us. I don't want to sound like an old timer here, but, back 20 years ago, that there wasn't that many. In fact, there was only a handful of us at the time really speaking against the Watchtower. But now we have hundreds, thousands. Look at the people in the Facebook groups. Look at the people doing YouTube videos. But now here's something that really makes my heart glad. We now have countries, yes, countries around the world that are coming down hard on the Watchtower. Just to name a few: Norway, Belgium, Slovakia, Japan, the Netherlands, and now even Sweden. I mean, the witnesses have had problems with Sweden in the past, but that's all coming out again. But now just this week, well, the last couple of weeks, France, the country of France, has had it with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And so I'm going to say it's good news from France. I want to thank France for getting on the ball and recognizing who Jehovah's Witnesses are. Well, there was a government official. They call them a prefect. We'd call him a magistrate here. So it's like a judge. Alexandre Bougeret, I believe is how you pronounce his name. And he reported back on September 15th, well, less than a month ago, his intention. Now, he's a government official, and he reported his intention to withdraw the benefits of religious associations, including the Jehovah's Witnesses. So, like I mentioned before, like Norway, in many places in Europe, the Jehovah's Witnesses get money from the government for every Jehovah's Witness they have. Well, the same thing with Catholics, the same thing with Protestant religions. The more members, the more money that religious group gets. But now this Alexandre Bougeret, he is saying enough is enough. He doesn't want to give organizations, including the Jehovah's Witness organization, any money, any charity money. See, this is money that the state or the government gives to these religions. And the way the government feels in these European countries is by them giving them money, that the religions would be honest enough to pass it down to the people who really need it. But now these countries are realizing that the Watchtower and some of these phony religions, they're not really helping the people. They're exploiting the people. And the one thing now, there's over in France, and we've talked about this years ago because France came down on the Watchtower years ago. I'm not going to get into all of that. but it was over taxes that they said the Watchtower owed, and the Watchtower was dragging their feet to do it. The Watchtower took them to court, and sad to say, the Watchtower won. But we brought up at the time, there's an organization. It's an anti-cult governmental organization, and it's called the Miviludes, and they're in France. And what they do is they're like a watchdog group, and they try to observe, and they try to not let dangerous organizations exist. So when the Miviludes get involved with a religion or any organization in France, you know you're in trouble because they see danger signs. And Pixie's been talking about danger all night tonight, but the Miviludes in France is anti-cult government organization. They hate cults. So they see dangers in the Watchtower. And the dangers, of course, are what we're all seeing. The covering up of child sex abuse, not being reported to authorities. And what do you think the other thing the French government doesn't like? They don't like the violation of human rights. And of course, those violations come when one is disfellowshipped. And then, of course, the shunning comes into play. And the Miviludes and the French government do not like the Jehovah's Witness families and friends who leave the Watchtower have to be chastised and have to be shunned. So good for France. I can say yippee, yippee-yi-yay, and I'm glad to see more and more countries coming down on the Watchtower. So that's a good thing, right? I think it is, and I think you guys think it is too. But I'll tell you what, I live up here in Massachusetts, and I have a business in Lowell, Massachusetts. It's a large city in Massachusetts, one of the largest cities. And anyways, right down the street from my business, I see these women doing the cart work. And it's really something to see. As a matter of fact, I went by the other day. I was telling my wife, Susan, boy, they don't look like Jehovah's Witnesses at all. I saw the cart, but it was two older women. I mean, they were dressed really not good at all. I mean, one was dressed like a ragamuffin, really. I mean, really wasn't. I mean, her clothes were very terrible looking. She wasn't like witnesses used to be. It was hard to even tell they were Jehovah's Witnesses. So, of course, their images is really changing. I wish I got a picture. I'm going to get a picture. When I see them again, I'm going to get a picture and show them here on the 6 screens because they're there all the time, but you have to see them. But, information coming in here to the 6 screens, it's showing the cart work is not working anymore. The cart work is really a dead thing for the Watchtower. A lot of people don't want to go into it anymore. Now, one time, everyone wanted to go in the cart work. They all wanted, in fact, they had to be kind of a special, privileged Jehovah's Witness to even get the cart. You had to go through training. I don't know what type of training you would have to go through to run a cart, just sit there and talk to people, but you had to go through special training. Now, I want to tell you something. I mentioned Johnny the Bethelite. He used to come on the program, and a year before the cart work even came out, Johnny the Bethelite talked about it here on the 6 screens. And it was a secret project that the Watchtower was working on. And he mentioned this a year before the cart work actually came out. Now, the Watchtower called this secret project that they were working on the Manhattan Project. Now, we know that was used during WW2, right? But they referred to the Manhattan Project. And what the Jehovah's Witness organization was doing is they were training elite special pioneers to go into what they call this cart work. And they would walk around New York City and they would witness the people on the streets. But they had to be trained. They had to be elite. They had to be able to carry themselves in a fine manner. So Johnny talked about this Manhattan Project, and lo and behold, a year later, they came out with the cart work. And, even up till now, people had to be in good standing to actually man one of these carts. You just couldn't go to you had to be exemplary. Let's go with that to even be allowed to do it. And many people loved to take part in it because, boy, they were elevated. They're spiritual warriors. These Jehovah's Witnesses are really spiritually strong. Now, the organization is really realizing now that it's backfiring on them. Information coming into the 6 screens is showing that people don't want to participate in it anymore. They really don't like it. It's boring. Can you imagine sitting next to a cart, really not talking to any people? People don't come up, and so it's there's no enthusiasm. So how can you get really excited about the cart work? But they tried to make it. The Jehovah's Witnesses tried to make it something really special. And what I want to do is I want to play a video for you just to show you. They had a song about it. Remember the cart song? Well, they even had little plays about it. So let me play this for you, and to show you how much emphasis the Watchtower organization was putting on this cart work. Let's share the screen so you can see it, and it's all about the cart. It's a little play, a little skit, and the song. So let's share that and let's listen in and see what you think. Let's play it right now. Hold on 1 second. I just gotta unmute it.
Titled, If You Could See What I See.
I'm just a cart made up of bits and pieces, a frame, a handle, and some wheels. But I'm a cart that helps to give a witness. What is that like? Let me tell you how it feels. If you could see what I see, if you could visit all the places that I go, if you could see the glimpse of all the faces that I get to know, if you when they see things they've never had a chance to see, that's when you'll see that forever they'll be memories. I've got wheels, I've got racks, I've got books, and I've got tracks. I take the kingdom message everywhere. When the crowds pass me by, I'm designed to catch their eye. Wherever people gather, count on me, 'cause I'll be there. If you could do what I do, you know the happiness that always fills my heart. What a feeling to go wheeling. I'm so glad to be a public witness.
Well, there you go. I mean, so you can see they put a lot of emphasis into that cart work, even singing a song about it, doing plays about it. And it really was something that was elite witnesses would do it. And boy, they got elevated to the point of, wow, isn't this amazing? I'm now an elite witness. I can wheel around a cart. But this all backfired on them. And I got thinking, the Watchtower seems to work backwards in many ways. Whenever something new would come out, and whether it would be the cart work, or whether even when they had the dramas, I remember back in the 1970s when they started coming out with these dramas in 80s at the conventions, to have a part in the drama, you had to be a special witness. You had to be exemplary. You had to be above and beyond other witnesses. So, they played on this fact of exemplary ones would be the more spiritual ones. But I get thinking about this in many ways. I think the Watchtower was really working backwards. It might be backfiring on them now. The organization hasn't learned how to truly harness people's enthusiasm and motivation. If these elite witnesses, they would gain pride and, I'm better than you. That's no way to really run an organization. My thoughts, just my thoughts. Instead, they made a mistake of linking these so-called privileged witnesses into this exemplary conduct and is super spiritually strong. And, that didn't really give people at the bottom much, much enthusiasm or much hope to move forward. But if they worked from the bottom and went up, if they focused on people's mishaps and ones who needed encouragement and needed to get zeal and encouraged to get zeal, well, they wouldn't be facing so many problems today. They left a lot of people behind, a lot of people, a lot of young men. They would have loved to have been a ministerial servant and loved to have been an elder. Well, you just don't qualify. And they would only focus on those they thought that really had what it took. But, these aren't the Navy SEALs here. If they were working from the bottom up and encouraged everybody and showed everybody they could do things, they'd probably be a lot better off today. What do you think?
That Cart song is about the silliest, least spiritual thing they ever produced, but the kid on it can really sing. I thought it was Matthew Broderick on Broadway, and the more I thought about it, the more I didn't want to go to Kingdom Hall, because that kid, if he was in Brooklyn at that time, because they hadn't moved to the lake yet, for less than $5, that brother could have gone to Broadway by the train and auditioned for something and had an actual life.
Pixie, I've got news for you. That brother is no longer a witness. Oh, he left.
Great. I hope he's still on Broadway.
Oh, yeah. He left, and they had to redo that song. And most of those songs that they redid, it's because the original singers left.
Great.
And so they had to replace those songs. So he was one of those.
That's wonderful news.
Boy, that is good news. Now, how'd you know that he left, sister?
I know because I have some friends in Bethel. Well, it's not in Brooklyn anymore. It's up in Warwick. And they told me. So yeah.
Yeah, he's
happy now. He's happier than he has ever been.
I bet. And he's really got a great voice for musicals.
Yeah, he's probably going to go into Broadway. In fact, there was a lot of witnesses. I had a girl in my hall. She wanted so bad to be an actress. I mean, her name was Susie, and she always wanted to be an actress, and but she could never do it. And we used to have these talent shows. Remember when we used to have talent shows? We actually could get away with that. And we had some pretty big ones. We'd fill an auditorium, like a school auditorium, and we'd have a number of congregations come, and she used to get out there and act, and she was pretty good at it. She really was good at it. And then, of course, they put the kibosh to that. You can't have any fun, right? But, boy, those talent shows, I used to like them. I used to be the MC, in fact. Yeah.
Rick.
Hey, Rick, this is Seth from Missouri.
Yes.
I just thought I'd throw my 2 cents in there real quick, and
Sure.
and I just thought it was funny you showed that clip tonight. Back when not long ago, I put together and hosted a congregation talent show, and it was 3 or 4 different congregations brought together. And before I even seen that clip on YouTube, I said, "Oh, that's my skit right there. I'm doing that one with the cart." And so I put someone on a dolly, a moving dolly, and I'd put an apron around them and had all kinds of tracks and magazines clipped to them, and had 2 sisters standing by them, and it was funny. I hosted a really funny event. But looking back on it now, I looked at, are we kids? Were we really kids? Were that childish to really enjoy music like that? It was like, oh my, it's silly. And you know what? I'll be walking through a store somewhere and start humming I'm so glad to be a Well, what am I doing? Why am I humming that? But Satan's crafty. He says he has catchy tunes. Well, there's one of them for you.
Well, Seth, that is a catchy tune. Now, I'll tell you what, we discussed this, a few years ago, and that song came out. I forget when it did, probably 5 or 6 years ago now, probably. But what we brought up was there's a Disney-esque or a Disney sound.
Yes.
It's a catchy little tune, and some of the songs have been that way. And come to find out, as we did our broadcast, one person did call in and tell us that there was a man that was pretty high up in the Disney organization, and he was a Jehovah's Witness, and he was one that was, working in the different songs and art department with Disney, and because Disney has a bunch of songs with these mermaids and all these different movies they come out with, so that somehow he incorporated some of this Disney music into Watchtower music. It's pretty easy to follow, right?
It was very much. Yes. So the very first time I heard that song, I thought it was a Disney song at very first. It was no way. I think it was the first song right after The Best Life Ever.
Yeah.
I believe it was. It was like the second or third maybe original song out. And I thought, no way, they're making Disney music. And that's when I was very much in it. I was very much in it. I thought it was making Disney music now.
Well, that is something.
So, Rick, I can put this insight into the RABC about how they produce that music. If anybody's interested, I'll keep it brief.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim. Oh, is this?
So Rick, the RABC, the Disney has generic singers, and you just pick out the generic voices. We did a tour. I did a tour with one of the Gilead instructors at Disney, and we saw how it all works. One of my students became a remote. It's not done in the media center. It's done remotely. He was showing me he downloads about a gigabyte package from the JW login for the members section, and he was showing me how he does it from his bedroom remotely. So there was no mystery about it. There's no big media center or anything. He's showing me how it's all being sent in from these generic voices.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, see, you can do that. That's what really I got thinking about too. You can do, like, I'm doing this broadcast from a room in my house, and I'm thinking, here's Watchtower building upwards of $500 million movie studio. This stuff could be done in a small room in your house. You don't have to spend that much money. Well, thank you, Matthew. Thank you for the information. It's good. Yeah.
Rick, I wanted to mention something.
Sure.
I had a near-car experience. I'm sorry. We went to the Riverboat Festival down on the Ohio River, and there they were, very well hidden. And I said to my wife, there they are, right there, the cart people. She couldn't see them. I said, honey, they're right there. They were on the other side of some shrubs, facing a street that nobody walks on. When there's the path people walk on is on the other side of it. So she went over there, and I actually videotaped some of it. I said, hon, they're not supposed to talk to you. So she started talking to them. She knew a couple of them from 20-some years ago in the local congregations downtown. And they had a good old time. Then she told them, yeah, I like Jesus now. I've never been happier. And somebody must have signaled with an alert on their cell phone or something. Then other witnesses came to support them. So there were like 5 witnesses there suddenly after a few minutes. And she said, I don't know what happened. They suddenly changed their whole attitude, and their faces got really just distorted. And I said, honey, they didn't know. You tricked them. They aren't supposed to talk to you. And now you're going to ruin their whole day because they found out you used to go to the Kingdom Hall. But Rick, I'm going to do 2 poems next week on your show. Is that all right?
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Hey, let me ask you, what were the witnesses wearing at the carts?
Head wraps. They were black, African American. 3 of the 4 women And there was a white-haired white woman, only one of the 5 people that I saw, and I think I saw another one eating lunch. It might have been 6 altogether. 6 people manning a cart, okay? 6. And 4 of them were just sitting down on a picnic area, waiting to relieve the other ones. Yeah, head wraps, very long skirts, and I mean, I was expecting. Yeah, I think the one had slacks, the one that my wife used to hang out with a lot. She and her husband, I had felt them out before we left to see if they had any feelings like we had about the organization, and they didn't, and they're still in and suffering. But, you know, it's a very delicate thing to try to connect with other people. By the way, you said the Manhattan Project. Well, hey, it's a big bomb, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is a big bomb, but no, they took the same. It was a WW2 project. Yeah, I won't go into that tonight, but they did take it from that, and that was the Manhattan Project. And then we have the carts, and now we have people who don't want to participate as much as they did, and then
they're hiding.
Yeah,
they're hiding their carts. That's the point. They were not. They were actually hidden. I couldn't see them. I've run into 3 carts this year, and in all cases, they were in such an obscure location. You're not doing anything. So that's what's puzzling me. Is there no counsel about that? But again, Rick, I'm done. I'm going to stop thinking of cards tonight, okay?
Well, thank you. Thank you. We'll hear from you next week with a couple of poems. Thank you. Thank you, King of Dots.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's go with, we got 865. 865, want to come on?
Yes, Rick, this is Junction Guy. How you doing?
Junction Guy, doing good, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, so I was at a festival in Kentucky last weekend, and they're at this festival every year, and I usually go every year, and they have a tent set up. I think the tent had jw.org on it, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not, but it was a blue tent, I'm sure. And I think they had the cart. They talked, I don't know what the rules are. I assume they're not supposed to argue or, whatever, but we had a good conversation. I could have went more stricter, but I know this town and the people, and it was just, but I let them know that, I used to go to the Kingdom Hall there, and the lady, so really? I said, yeah, I even told her, I remember you and your husband. But I told them I had different beliefs now, and I was trying to get more info on the latest education change. So pretty much what the young man said, I don't know if he was an elder, but he said it's a conscience issue, and I know several witnesses went to college, but a thing about that area is, even with Kingdom Halls and other areas, it's different. There is a little bit of difference there. I can't put my foot on it, but it had a little bit different feeling to it when I went there. But anyway, but I remember, even back then in that area, they were encouraging people to go on to welfare and public service to pioneer. So they weren't even encouraging it then. They were encouraging them to, live off the government and pioneer. So anyway, I had a good conversation with them, but they'll know me next year for sure. I've been seeing people the last few years that I didn't know, but this year there's people there I knew.
Well, there you go, Junction Guy. Well, no, thank you for sharing that story with us. That's fascinating, and they're out there. In fact, I'll tell you, it looks so cultish to see them out there, and they're at fairs. They're in front of, in fact, these Aldi stores. I don't know if you have them where you guys live, but these Aldi stores, it's like a supermarket, and the witnesses are showing up there. They're showing up. They showed up at the Super Bowl. Anyway, there's a large event. The witnesses are showing up, and it's so cultish looking. I have to tell you, I used to think, I'll tell you something, to do a work, even though, I did it and I didn't mind it too badly. But boy, it looks so neat to see well-dressed people going door to door. It actually had a certain feel to it. It kind of looked, it looked really classy. And, to see a man going down the street with a suit on and, well trimmed haircut, nice polished shoes, and his wife along with him with a pretty dress and polished shoes and her hair done up nice, little lipstick and makeup on. They look good. They look good. But man, I'm telling you, things are changing. Things are changing. I'll tell you that. At one time, I mean, really, you could have been proud to be a Jehovah's Witness. I was. I used to be. I wouldn't be now, but I used to be then. So that's good. Well, thank you, Junction Guy. Thanks for chiming in here tonight on the Six Screens. Thank you.
All righty, thank you.
All righty. Well, let's take a look and see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. So, yeah, these carts, when you think about it, how much training did the people really need? Really, I mean, do they need training for that? I think they need more training for the door-to-door work. 602, I believe that's I believe that's Arizona. Come on in, 602. I guess not. Well, anyways, well, maybe we'll go to the duck game, our trivia game. A bunch of people have been calling in saying, Rick, the Watchtower.
Yeah.
Did you want to say something? Is this Gilbert?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yes.
Hey, you were talking about France a little while ago, weren't you?
Yes.
And so I know it's bad manners to call in the Six Screens and argue and disagree with the host. So forgive me if I sound like I'm disagreeing with you, but the end result is the same. One thing that people don't know about France, well, we know it's a communist country, but they are in debt. Their debt to GDP is way over 100%, which means they're bankrupt. They are bankrupt. Everybody knows it, but if you go to any website, I mean, any search engine, Google or whatever, chat, and you ask, it'll say, well, technically it's not. No, they're bankrupt. It's over. It's over. It's over. But anyways, there's a whole list of European countries that are bankrupt. Their debt to GDP is above. So what does that mean? What it means is this. When things are going good, all of those other countries that have their finances in control, we'll put up with the Jehovah's Witnesses. But here you have a country, France, that's looking at the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're saying, what the hell is this? Why is this on my desk? And then, of course, they're going to get irate because there's budget cuts. There's austerity measures being talked about. So you as a government official are saying, you mean to tell me that I got to give these idiots preferential treatment? I got to worry about their rights, but they're leeches on society. They're leeches. And so you can actually see, because of France's financial situation, they're going to be like, why should we do anything for you? You're just takers, you're leeches, and you don't even donate to political causes. And that's where you and I now are going into saying, now we're not disagreeing because the end result is going to be the same. Watchtower's problem is they're, like we said earlier, about the United Nations, they call everybody Satan's organization on earth. They just accuse everybody of being related to Satan because they're not part of their religion. They don't donate to any political organization, political cause. They don't build anything. And now the country is bankrupt and it has to start cutting, has to start, fixing their financial house. Watchtower has no friends. They have no friends in a hostile world. And as every country around the world starts going through, financial turbulation, the great turbulation that's coming, Watchtower is going to be on the short end of the stick. They have no friends. All they have is money and property. Now, what happens when government is bankrupt? They need other people's money. And what better way to get other people's money than to go after religions like Watchtower? You can't go after the Catholics because at least the Catholics give people money in Congress, right? The Catholics are always donating. If you need money, and this is a public service announcement to all of you government officials that are spying in, Watchtower has gobs of it. Take it. Pay down your debt. That's my 2 cents.
Well, it's good 2 cents. I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense. But yeah,
Rick, this is Jesse in Yuma.
yeah, Jesse.
I don't disagree with Gilbert, but I see it's funny how me and him see things different always. We see the same coin, but he sees heads, I see tails always, since we were babies. But Gilbert, I don't disagree, but let me just throw you this angle. I see it different. I don't see the money aspect. I don't see the physical aspect. I really see a karma or a spiritual element. And it goes to what Gary was talking about a few minutes ago. Gary was talking about how they were hiding. They don't want to be visible. I really think it's a spiritual, and the word becomes flesh. The name is Jehovah's Witness. But because they are the synagogue of Satan, they're cursed to not give a witness. They're cursed to not give a witness. In other words, they are hiding. They are, besides them being a low IQ human beings, they're very extremely low IQ. They can't see that they're the opposite of Jehovah's Witness. They're the Jehovah's not witnesses. So they go to court and they don't open their mouths. They go to a public debate and they don't open their mouth. So I think they're being accursed spiritually. I think we're seeing the spirit with our own eyes. The spirit becomes flesh. We see it with our own eyes that they're being cursed. I don't see the financial aspect of the governments. I see the spiritual side. And so that's why I say I'm not disagreeing with Gilbert, but I think there's something more involved here too.
That's why my brother's wrong, because Rick, Jesus talked about this, where remember the good servant was going to get fired. Remember that guy was going to get fired, and Jesus said that the servant went and started giving everybody like a discount, like, hey, Rick, you don't owe me $100, you owe me $70. And he was giving everybody discounts, and he was making friends. And so then when the owner of the company came back, he's like, I can't fire this guy. He's making too many friends. You know, he used his position in a very wise way. What I'm trying to say is the Catholics give the Democrats a couple $100,000, they give the Republicans $100,000. But the Catholics and the Baptists are always giving other people money. They're making friends. So the Jehovah's Witnesses are always sucking on the proverbial breast. And they're just taking. And so, yeah, they're ripe for destruction. And I think the political climate of the day is, the winds are changing. The political climate of the day is coming, that Watchtower is friendless. They're friendless, and no one is going to cry for them. No, they're perfect. They can easily be taken over, and not one person, not one newspaper will mourn at the loss of the Watchtower.
Yeah. Hey, and you know what? Here's another thing, another dynamic. There's a spiritual dynamic to the politics. A lot of people think politics is physical, but it's not. There's a spiritual element in this aspect, because the Jehovah's Witnesses lie about political neutrality. They are the most political people on the planet. If you can't go a week without going to jw.org and seeing some quote from the United Nations. And so I think that's why they're being accursed. They're the ones who claim political neutrality, but they're not. We all know they're a leftist organization, maybe an atheist-making factory, but they are not a Christian. They are not a spiritual organization. They are a physical body politic.
Well, I agree with you guys. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Gilbert, for giving us your little editorial hit tonight. Thank you very much.
Rick.
Yes.
Rick, before you move on, I've been wanting to speak up about something that I stumbled into looking up the guy you mentioned, the Alexander guy.
Yeah.
And I just was looking out, trying to find what his name was. But in doing that, I stumbled into an article from I guess it's a paper called Le Parisien, and it's dated October the 3rd. And the whole thing's written in French, but you can figure it out. It says that there was a witness, Jehovah's Witness in France, was on the 2nd of October in Rennes, R-E-N-N-E-S, Rennes. They were sentenced to 2 years in prison, and it looks like 3 years of probation because of imposing sexual relations on a girl of 12 years old. And this person had become her confidant. So someone in France got 2 years prison, 3 years probation. And in the article, it's quite interesting. They show the Assembly Hall, Stade d'Assemblée des Témoins de Jéhovah, and it has above it is the big blue JW.org. So they show that picture and that article all comes together in that paper or magazine called Le Parisien.
Well, there you go, Zach. No, that's good. Yeah, in fact, what it is this is not the first time the Watchtower has been in trouble in France. France has had, they've had the microscope on the Watchtower for many years now, and they now are going to come against them. And I'm glad you brought that up concerning that sexual predator. And countries they're being forced, including even America right now, to look into this. For years the government just let it go because a lot of politicians were involved in pedophilia and sexual misconduct. But now it's coming to the forefront, and they got to expose it. So these countries, there's going to be way more in the future coming down the Watchtower. Thank you, Zach. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yep. All right. Well, anyways, let's end it there. Let's go to our trivia game. We got a game to play. Did JP want to say something? Go ahead, JP.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Rick. Sorry, I was trying to get through, but I finally figured out how the app will work on my phone.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say one last thing about France. They're going after the JWs, and they just had the last annual meeting, and a lot of us ex-JWs thought it was a big old nothing burger, which it sort of was, minus what they were saying about the best flights. But fact is, I think that a lot of people are ignoring Jeffrey Winder's talk, and he was the one at the annual meeting two annual meetings ago that was saying that they're not inspired or infallible, and they have no need to give an apology. And in his talk at the last annual meeting, and I think this has to go along with France because they're going to make a lot of changes, is what he said, but he literally brought up every single change that they've made in the last 2 years, from the time to the beards, the ties, slacks, college, clinking glasses, the way they treat and accept disfellowship ones that show up to meetings. He brought up all of that in his talk, and that he said that there was going to be more changes coming in that. So I think that maybe we got a little too much anticipation as, ex-JWs, apostates, listening to this annual meeting, but I think people need to go back and listen to a little bit more of what he was saying. And obviously, they got work. This wasn't a spur of the moment thing that France decided. When a country decides to do something like that, this is usually months in the making. So I think that Watchtower knew ahead of time what was going to happen in France. That's why they sent out that letter. And that's why Jeffrey Winder said in that talk that there's going to be more changes. But I think it just kind of went under everybody's nose and that. I don't know if you noticed that, Rick, but that's all I was going to say.
Yeah, no, I did notice that. In fact, I brought it up last week, JP, that kind of left the door open for, what I'm thinking, and I mentioned it last week, is I don't believe you're going to have a lot of changes made from now on at the annual meeting. That's where you had them made before. But the platform they have now works way better. That JW updates, that's where you're going to hear all of the changes. So I'm thinking in the up and coming updates, in the next few months, we're going to get a lot of information. But I got that from Winder's talk. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Thank you, JP.
Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, you're welcome, Rick. And it'll come too from articles like they've done in the past. That was mainly before JW.org got set up. Was the only way we would dispense new light and information was either at a convention or through a Watchtower article and that. But things are so much faster with this website and their forum that they have, that they can change the religion literally in one weekend, and all of witnesses globally will change. So that just goes to show the amount of power that they have with technology, and that, which they condemned, in the early 2000s and late 90s, but they're definitely on board with all of that. And it's just pretty scary the way that they're going to manipulate and eventually destroy people's lives that are falling in and buying this. But that's all I wanted to say, Rick. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate, always good to hear from JP out of California. Okay, I believe we got, is that Matthew? Did you want to say something, Matthew?
Yeah, just we've had some good chats with JP, and it's great listening to him there. Didn't mean to interrupt his thought, but to actually support what he's saying about the ease with which they can revise something. And I don't know how many on the network here remember the French and Belgium response from Watchtower with the tax situation was Aid Afrique. Does anybody remember Aid Afrique? Where they set up the organization that worked hand in glove with the United Nations. This was coordinated throughout Africa, and it was basically to try and answer that whole tax situation. Do you remember that by any chance?
Yes. Yes, I do. In fact, matter of fact, they had a full page article. The Watchtower paid for a full page in a paper, New York Times, explaining the position they found themselves in France, and how the French government wanted taxes that they said that the Watchtower owed them. And of course, the Watchtower fought it and they won. They didn't have to pay it. But at one time it was $50 million on the hook. Do I have that right?
Well, I can't remember the figures. I did do some work for that in Zambia, but they tried to scrub that information because of the United Nations connection. But for anybody who's still interested to see where it still remains, it remains in the year 2000 yearbook. You can see the airplanes that they used, and you can see the Aid Afrique connection is still there. You won't be able to find it in searchable text, but you'll find it in the images.
Can I ask a question, Matthew?
Yeah.
You're in Zambia or right nearby or something?
Makeni in Zambia, because Africa was supposed to be the backup in case America fell. So the governing body initially said to Zambia, we want to build a printery that will coordinate things in Africa and Zambia. And of course, they changed their mind.
I was going to ask you about a specific brother years ago, James Mwango. Have you ever heard that name?
No,
no. Okay. Okay.
But you can connect to me by email, JP. You can find me. Chat with me there. Rick, thank you.
Yeah. In fact, who we were talking to was a man named Zachary, who comes on here as well. That wasn't JP. JP was on earlier too. But yeah, Zachary, Matthew's coming in from South Africa. Yeah, he lives in South Africa.
Oh, sorry, Zach, I got mixed up. Sorry about
No, that's okay.
All right. Well, thank.
That's a person that I met years ago. I think there was some kind of thing with all the branch overseers and branch committee members who came over here in the late 80s. And he came to the Kingdom Hall with us, and he was on a branch committee. And I think that it was Zambia, because the work in Malawi was banned or something. But I just wondered if you had ever heard his name. Okay, that was it.
It's true. Look, there's a big scandal there, massive one. It's an embarrassment, and it surrounds CSA. And they've used the key personnel, the best, the most elite. It's an embarrassment, absolute embarrassment.
Well, thank you, Matthew, and thank you, Zach. And we'll go to the we'll go to the game. Let's go to the trivia game now. Look at friends. Here's the rules for the game. You have to keep your own score. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a question about the Watchtower. And what you do is pick a number from 1 to 100. Call that number out. And I can hear it that way. If not, I have like 20 people talking at once. So call the number out after I say go, after I ask the question. If you jump the gun, you're automatically disqualified from answering. And if you speak up and you say, okay, number 6, and you don't answer it, I'll give you one shot at it. In other words, if the first person I hear, usually it comes in first. A lot of people do. They get a good jump on it, but they're just saying that before they really have the answer. So if you jump in first, the first person that answers, if they don't get the answer, I'm going to deduct 5 points from their score. So, I mean, it's really a penalty here. So I want you to be aware of that. So if you're going to use a number, make sure you get the answer. Just don't say it to, hopefully you get it. You lose 5 points. Okay.
Wait, you lose 5 points for saying the wrong answer?
Yeah, because we've had people, Zach, that as soon as I say go, they hit the number 5. And then okay, what's the answer? But they do that so they can be the first in. So the first.
Wait, just to clarify, you lose 5 points if you don't get the right answer, or you lose 5 points if you don't say anything?
You lose 5 points if you don't get the right answer for the first one calling in.
Who keeps track of the 5 points that you lose?
Well, you have to go in the honor system. And I know you've done it. You've said you get right in there one, and then numerous times you had to think about it and it wasn't right. So get the answer. So if you're gonna be first, make sure you get the answer. Yeah.
What I do is I'll give an answer. I'll say I really don't know the answer to this. Because let's face it, Rick, sometimes you've asked people what Russell's third grade teacher was named.
Right. Well, those are.
Come on now.
I got you. Well, let's see how this. Maybe we'll have to.
Think about that, Rick.
Just don't answer it. Don't answer it.
Look, guys, don't go along with crazy rules. Don't defend crazy rules. This is one of those times y'all shouldn't be answering right now. Okay.
Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. But we'll try it. We will try.
I'm ready to play.
We'll put it. All right. Now let me just tell you what you can win. If you get 5 points, you get a book. I get some nice books. Jim Hills gave us Millions Now Living Will Never Die. I got a lot of Watchtower publications. I get some nice ones if you want to win a book. If you get 12 points, we're starting from scratch here because Zachary won last week. And by the way, Zachary, I'm going to send that money to Debbie. Okay. And now, but in the future, I just want to make it perfectly clear that there'll be no third party. If you win the money and you want the money, you got to give me your address. Be no more third party prizes because it's just very confusing. It can be send the money and the person might not give it to the person. And then I get blamed for it. The person says they never got it. So I got to go to the party that wins it. That way there's no problems. Okay. So let's go with the first question. You got to.
At least we can pretend that Debbie is the one who won.
Well, Debbie won, and she deserved it, and she can put it to good use. But understand the position I'm in. What if I send the money to someone, then the person that won it says I never got it, and the person who I sent it to says, well, they never got it either. So, I'm on the hook. So no more third party. This will be the last time I do that. All right. So here we go. Okay, let's talk about this. Here's the question, number 1 in the trivia game tonight. The Jehovah's Witness movement was inspired by blank and began in the 19th century with Charles Taze Russell. So the question is, what religious group inspired Russell with his JW movement, or his Watchtower movement, I should say? It wasn't JW at the time.
30.
Hold on, go.
83. 83.
83, let's go to 83. What group?
Is a Millerite movement?
Yeah, it was. Yep. Millerite or Seventh-day Adventist. You got it. That JP?
Is JP, yeah.
Well, JP, take 2 points for that. Take 2 points for that, okay? That's a good. That was,
I'm 0. I got 2 points.
okay, now keep score yourself now. All right, so let's go with this. Russell co-founded Zion's Watchtower and Tract Society in what year?
33.
83.
81. 1881. 83. JP. It was in 1881.
Yeah, who was 83? Who's this?
JP.
Oh, JP. You got it, JP. You got it. Boy, take it on.
1881.
18. You got it. Boy, how'd you know that?
I just, memorized the Proclaimers book.
Boy, I'll tell you, that's wonderful. I mean, I thought we were going to stumble everyone on that one. You got it though. Good. All right.
Was that worth 1 point or 12 points?
That was worth 1. Yeah. So you got 3.
Okay.
Well, what do you want to put?
Just double checking.
What do you want to put me in the poorhouse or what? Jeez. All right.
I'm just joking with you.
I know. All right. All right. Let's go with this one. All right. We love you too, JP. All right. So let's go with this. The year, I'm not going to give you the year, but the year is a significant date in their prophecy calculations, representing the year Jerusalem was destroyed by Babylon. What year? Go.
83.
1. Go ahead, Zach. Zach, go ahead. 1. Zach's 1.
It's 607 BCE, October the 4th/54.
You got it. Take a point, Zach. Take a point.
That's wrong.
Yeah. All right. Let's go with the next one. Joseph Rutherford. Yeah. Joseph Rutherford.
606. It was 607.
Was it really?
Yes, that's true.
Well,
if you look in the Revelation book, it was actually 606. He was either off and then he
Well-
was brought to his attention.
Well, should we take that point away from Zach? No.
No, they actually, I heard you say take away the point. So actually, they said that they were wrong when they were saying 606, and they changed it to 607. And they also said that that was a providential mistake. That's what they used to say. They made the mistake providentially because they were adding a 0 year and going from from BCE to CE. They found out there was no 0 year in going from
Who's making that noise?
CE to BCE.
Yeah.
So no. In order to get to 1914, they changed. They said 607, and then they had to stop adding a 0 year.
All right. Well,
That's the story.
well, we're going to go with 607. We're going to let you keep your point. All right. Let's go with this. What is that noise I hear like hair clippers? Who's ever making that noise, don't do it. It sounds like hair clippers. All right. So Joseph Rutherford, the later president of the Watchtower Society, built the house Beth Surim in San Diego. What year was it? Go.
82. 62.
What year was it? 62 would have been before that.
83.
83.
61. It was in 1929.
It was 1929. Geez, JP, I mean, you're doing good. You're doing good, really. Let's take another point. So you're up to 4 points. All right. All right. So let's go with this. What was that home built for? Go.
83. 83.
83. Go ahead.
62.
83. Let's go with JP again.
The reason why Rutherford built that house was because in 1925 he was convinced that all the patriarchs, which was Solomon, Abraham, Isaac, Joseph, all of them were going to be resurrected. But it didn't fruition. But he still went ahead and built that house in 1929, and he lived there until his death.
I'll go with that, JP. I will. He built a house and he intended he intended that house to be.
You want me to give you more?
No. I don't need to know that. No, I don't need to know that much. We got it. We got it. It's I don't want to overload the donkey here. So 29 it was built.
Pomegranate trees, palm trees. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So it was for future residents of the resurrected figures. Okay, let's go with this one. I want someone to give me the best explanation on what the Watchtower's purpose was. The purpose that the person who comes the closest, I'm going to give 2 points. So what was the Watchtower's major purpose? Go.
87. To get rid of 62 items.
Did I hear 87? Let's go to 62. I heard 62. Did I hear 62? Did I hear number 7? Number 7.
Yeah, you heard 7.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead, Stephen.
I thought it was to announce Jehovah's kingdom and vindicate his sovereignty, something to that effect.
I'm gonna give that to you. I was looking for the word kingdom in there. I'm gonna give that to you. Okay, because I was looking for the word kingdom and you brought that up. 62. What else would you like to say? 62.
83.
What would you like to say, JP? You want to elaborate a little bit?
Also, going along with what Stefan was saying too, the main purpose of the Watchtower magazine was Russell's chronology, and his point to prove that the end of the world and Armageddon and anarchy and all government and societies were going to cease to exist in the fall of 1914.
Yeah, well,
that's pretty much exactly what Stephen said. That was the whole main purpose, and the main point was like when William Miller, 1844, Charles Taze Russell was 1914. That was the main thing behind the Watchtower magazine. I think there's some inscriptions and articles where Russell had alluded to that the magazine would never continue after 1914 because we would be entering the God's kingdom and all that. So yeah, Stephen was absolutely right, but I was just going to allude a little more.
All right, well, that's good. Well, thank you, JP. Okay, let's go with this one. Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry to do this, but I suspect your answer is wrong. Can I tell you why?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm stirring it up so you can shoot me down. But Russell said in the extra edition Watchtower, if you were a shareholder, in the extra edition volume 15, number 8, he said the following. He said the object in taking out a charter is succinctly stated in the Watchtower for January 1891 as follows. This is a business association merely it was chartered to dispose of property in its own name as if it were an individual. Should be down.
Well, I never heard that before, Matthew, but I'm sure that's got some truth to it. But I mean, it was to proclaim God's kingdom. It was a basic message of the Watchtower. All right, good.
Okay, I'm stirring it up.
All right, good.
Humoring me.
All right, well, thank you, Matthew. All right, let's go. We got one more. We'll do two more here. Let's go with this.
It's got a whole different take on it. How interesting.
All right, let's go with this one. Thank you, Pixie. All right, everyone stop. If you could just stop rattling papers and try to keep it nice and calm so people can hear it. Keep your noise down to a minimum. It'll be so much better. So bear in mind that you got an open mic there, so anything's going to pick up and make noise. So let's go to the next question here. Let's go to the next question. The next question is, why was it when some Jehovah's Witnesses left the Kingdom Hall or a book study group for service, they would stop immediately at a laundromat to leave magazines? One, why would they stop at a laundry?
61. 83.
Did I hear number 9?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah, that's Thomas Hodgson.
Yes, Thomas. Why'd they do that?
So they could start their time right away.
That's it.
That way they could, yeah, that was the whole idea.
Yeah, you got it. Jumpstart the service time. All right. Well, that's good, Thomas. Take a point. Well, here's the next one. Here's the last one for the night. All right. Name the brand of car that Jehovah's Witness circuit overseers drove. Go.
783.
7. Stefan, go ahead.
Stefan, it's going to be a Buick.
Yeah, it's a Buick. You got it. Take another point, Stefan. Boy, you know those circuit overseer questions. All right, friends, we're going to end it there. Is Nadine on there? Nadine, is she on listening tonight? She only needed 2 more points. She could win $100. I was hoping she was on here tonight, but I guess she's not. All right. Well, we want to thank everyone for coming into the 6 Screens tonight. And friends, we will have no 6 Screens tomorrow. It will be a week from tomorrow. But I want you all to keep standing tall. Don't you ever give in, up, or out. Don't you ever let your visions die. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We'll see you next Saturday night right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. Thank you for coming in and spending some time with us tonight. Thank you.